Final spiritual alert: you've been walking toward danger without even knowing it. Archangel Michael says heaven has been warning you, but you keep skipping the signs. My child, my beloved. You are reading this not by accident, but by divine appointment. Heaven has been trying to reach you for longer than you realize. There are signs you've dismissed, moments you brushed off, sudden feelings that came out of nowhere. Those were not random. Those were wake-up calls. And now, Archangel Michael has been sent one final time with this message: if you do not listen now, there may not be another chance. This is not to scare you, it is to wake you up. There is something that has been moving toward your life quietly, dangerously. A spiritual danger. A physical danger. A financial one. And what's most painful is, it was preventable. That's why God has allowed this message to reach you before the clock runs out. Heaven will never blame you for not knowing, but now you do. And what you do in the next few minutes matters more than you can imagine. Before I reveal what you must hear, I need you to pause your heart for just a second, and make one choice. Subscribe now if you haven't yet, because this message is not a one-time whisper. It's the beginning of an unveiling, and only those who stay connected will be shown the next steps. What you're about to discover is sacred. Don't let it disappear. My child, my beloved. There are forces working around your life that do not want you to hear this. There are people, yes, even those who smile in front of you, who have been interfering with your destiny behind closed doors. You felt it. You sensed it. You brushed it off, told yourself you were just imagining things. But what if I told you Archangel Michael saw it all? What if I told you he was crying as he stood guard near you at night, because you were trusting the very ones who were delaying your breakthrough? Heaven cannot stay silent anymore. There is danger, yes. But within that danger is a door. A door that will only open to the chosen ones who respond quickly. This is your final wake-up call, and heaven will honor what you decide in the next few moments. Not tomorrow. Not later. Now. Because the ones who've been plotting against you, they're not slowing down. In fact, their next move is coming sooner than you think. My child, my beloved. There's something you didn't notice. Every time you got close to success, something suddenly blocked it. Every time a miracle was about to arrive, a distraction pulled you away. Every time you were about to hear God's voice clearly, someone called you, messaged you, pulled you back into old patterns. That's not coincidence. That's spiritual warfare disguised as ordinary life. You've been fighting battles you couldn't even name. But today, yes, today, Archangel Michael was given one final order. To come down not just to warn you, but to empower you. He has been told to shake the ground beneath your feet if that's what it takes for you to pay attention. This is not punishment. This is mercy. Because God sees your heart. Even when you felt lost, you were still reaching. Even when your faith felt dry, your soul was still whispering, God, help me. And heaven heard you. But now the silence is breaking. My child, my beloved. Someone is watching you more closely than you know, and it's not just heaven. It's someone from your past. Someone who said they let go, but never really did. Their jealousy has grown into something poisonous. And if you don't act quickly, their words will start to touch places in your life that were never meant to be touched. Your peace. Your progress. Your prosperity. This is why this message couldn't wait. God is not only warning you, He's offering you an escape plan. A divine shield. A reversal. But you must walk away from the voices you've been tolerating. The relationships that keep draining you. The habits that leave you empty. You've been sensing something is off. That's not anxiety. That's spiritual discernment. And Archangel Michael is here to confirm it. My child, my beloved. You've cried silently at night and no one knew. You've questioned if God even saw you anymore. But today, the heavens are roaring. Because this is not a normal day. This is a prophetic day. A day that was written before you were even born. A day that will either be marked as the moment you turned the page into glory, or the moment the door quietly closed for a season. This is urgent. You've missed signs before and God still had mercy. But today is different. Today carries a weight. Heaven's final warning does not come often. But when it does, the wise listen. The humble obey. The chosen awaken. And you, beloved, have been chosen. My child, my beloved. You may wonder why this message feels different from all the others you've ever come across. It's because it is. This message wasn't written on earth, it was breathed from the throne of heaven and sent through the sword of Archangel Michael. God didn't want to just whisper in your dreams anymore. He didn't want to send another vague feeling or subtle nudge. No. This time, he wanted the words to strike like lightning through your spirit. Because something has been circling your life. Something dangerous. And you were never meant to face it alone. But the truth is, you've been distracted, my child. You've been ignoring the signs. And what you've ignored has now grown strong enough to knock at your door. Heaven cannot hold back the alarm any longer. This is the final trumpet for your attention. My child, my beloved. Your story has never been ordinary. From the moment you were formed, your name was sealed with divine purpose. That's why the enemy keeps coming for you. That's why certain people you trusted turned so strangely cold. That's why sudden disruptions happened every time you were close to joy. This is not paranoia. This is the unveiling. Archangel Michael has seen the war around you growing more aggressive. Not because you're cursed, but because you're called. You are not weak, but you are weary. You've been fighting spiritual battles with a wounded heart. And heaven has seen every silent tear you cried behind the smile. You were hoping someone would see it. And heaven did. My child, my beloved. There is someone close to you, too close, who has been acting out of alignment with heaven's plan for your life. They know your routine. They know your dreams. And what you don't realize is that they've been planting doubt, delay, and confusion in small doses. So subtle, you didn't even notice it. But Archangel Michael did. And what he saw broke his heart. Because every time you made progress, their words pulled you back. Every time you opened your heart to love, their presence stirred mistrust. Every time you prayed for peace, their energy brought chaos. Heaven will not stay silent while your destiny is being negotiated behind your back. My child, my beloved. You were born with a light that others envy. That light was never about status or beauty or money. It was your spirit. Your resilience. Your unexplainable ability to rise even when everything collapses. And some people, yes, even family, have mistaken your strength for something they can manipulate. But God is not mocked. What was done in darkness is being exposed. And Archangel Michael is revealing that even though you've forgiven them in your heart, their actions have not stopped. In fact, they've intensified. Because they think you are too passive to notice. They think your silence is weakness. But what they forget is that you're protected. That you're chosen. That heaven has been watching every move, and now, judgment has begun. But this judgment comes with mercy, for you. If you open your eyes. My child, my beloved. Have you noticed how certain opportunities vanish the moment you tell specific people about them? How your confidence crumbles after being around certain voices? How your energy drops after just a short visit or call with someone you know should be safe, but never feels fully peaceful? That's not normal. That's spiritual contamination. You've been anointed with a calling that intimidates people who live with secret resentment. They don't hate you openly, they confuse you with sweet words and subtle sabotage. And heaven is saying, enough is enough. You cannot keep giving your trust to people who are working against your growth. And you cannot keep postponing obedience because of emotional attachment. God is not asking you to hate them, He's asking you to wake up. My child, my beloved. This is where everything changes. This moment. This message. This warning. Archangel Michael has only been permitted to speak like this a few times throughout history, and this is one of them. Because the danger is not just emotional, it's generational. If you ignore this, you won't be the only one affected. Your peace. Your children. Your future. Everything you've prayed for is connected to this moment of clarity. That's why this message isn't soft. That's why it feels like it's hitting so deeply. Because heaven isn't trying to comfort you, they're trying to rescue you. You are not just a child of God. You are a gatekeeper for what comes next in your bloodline. And if you fall into the trap that's been set for you, the domino effect will stretch further than you ever imagined. That's why Archangel Michael is crying out with a voice like thunder, wake up now. You've waited long enough for confirmation. This is it. My child, my beloved. You've been asking God for answers, begging for a clear sign that what you've been feeling is real. And this is it. Heaven waited until your heart was strong enough to receive the full truth. You are not paranoid. You are not imagining things. The spiritual attacks have been real. The closed doors were not always divine delays, they were strategic blocks placed by the enemy using people who knew your weaknesses. And the worst part is, you've kept those people close because of history, because of guilt, or because you thought loving them would heal the damage. But their loyalty was never true. Their smile was rehearsed. Their kindness was transactional. And heaven has had enough. That's why this warning didn't come gently, it came like a sword, because the wound is deeper than you realized. Archangel Michael is not just revealing the problem, he's standing with you to end it. My child, my beloved. You have something they don't, a divine assignment. And because of that, they've been trying to wear you down slowly. Not all at once. Just little by little. Making you question yourself. Draining your energy. Distracting your focus. Whispering doubts. Making sure you never fully rise into who you were born to be. But today, the light is breaking through. Today, heaven is giving you the strength to do what your heart has known for a long time but your soul was afraid to admit. You cannot walk into your next chapter carrying the shadows of people who were sent to delay you. You cannot keep pretending you don't feel what you feel. And God is not going to let you suffer any longer just to keep peace with people who are destroying your spirit behind closed doors. This is not betrayal. This is obedience. My child, my beloved. You've outgrown the place you've been in. Spiritually, emotionally, and even physically, your atmosphere has been rejecting your spirit because it was never designed for the version of you that is awakening now. That tightness you've been feeling? That restlessness? That sudden irritation in spaces that once felt familiar? That's not you changing for the worse. That's heaven stretching your spirit toward a higher dimension, and the old environment no longer fits your anointing. If you stay where you are, connected to the same patterns and people, you will start to shrink again. And that, my child, is what Archangel Michael was sent to stop. Because you didn't come this far just to go back. You didn't survive everything you've been through just to stay small. There's more for you. And it's on the other side of this final wake-up. My child, my beloved. You've been feeling the tension, haven't you? Like you're standing in two places at once, your heart in the future, but your mind chained to the past. That's because your spirit already knows where you're supposed to be. It has already glimpsed the door God is trying to open. But you keep looking back. You keep hoping those who wounded you will change. You keep trying to bring everyone with you. And Archangel Michael says, it's slowing you down. Some of the very people you're fighting for have no intention of walking with you. Some of the ones you've been praying for have already made peace with seeing you fail. And yet you keep pouring into them, thinking your love will change their heart. But what if God is saying, your love already did its part, but now it's time to let go? What if the only reason you're not walking in full peace is because you keep inviting chaos back in, dressed as compassion? This is the moment where you choose, alignment or attachment. My child, my beloved. This is the final trumpet for your attention. My child, my beloved. Your story has never been ordinary. From the moment you were formed, your name was sealed with divine purpose. That's why the enemy keeps coming for you. That's why certain people you trusted turned so strangely cold. That's why sudden disruptions happened every time you were close to joy. This is not paranoia. This is the unveiling. Archangel Michael has seen the war around you growing more aggressive. Not because you're cursed, but because you're called. You are not weak, but you are weary. You've been fighting spiritual battles with a wounded heart. And heaven has seen every silent tear you cried behind the smile. You were hoping someone would see it. And heaven did. My child, my beloved. There is someone close to you, too close, who has been acting out of alignment with heaven's plan for your life. They know your routine. They know your dreams. And what you don't realize is that they've been planting doubt, delay, and confusion in small doses. So subtle, you didn't even notice it. But Archangel Michael did. And what he saw broke his heart. Because every time you made progress, their words pulled you back. Every time you opened your heart to love, their presence stirred mistrust. Every time you prayed for peace, their energy brought chaos. This is not a message to break your trust in everyone, it's to open your discernment. You have been too kind, too forgiving, too silent. And now your silence has allowed something dangerous to grow louder. But today, that ends. Today, Archangel Michael has drawn a line in the spirit. My child, my beloved. God is not angry with you. He is not disappointed in you. But he is trying, one last time, to pull you out of this invisible trap before it tightens. There's a force trying to make you question yourself. A hidden influence trying to manipulate how you see the truth. And it's working, until now. That's why you feel confused after certain conversations. That's why you feel heaviness even when everything around you looks fine. You've blamed yourself for being too emotional, too sensitive, too tired. But heaven says, you are not crazy. You are being spiritually attacked. And if you ignore this again, the next season will not go how you think. That is why this is a wake-up call, not a gentle invitation. Because you are standing at a spiritual intersection. One road leads to divine deliverance. The other, to deeper deception. And Archangel Michael is now placing this warning in your hands. What you do with it will change everything. My child, my beloved. There is still time. But not much. The enemy has moved his next piece. But heaven has already prepared the counterattack, if you're willing to step into alignment. That means stepping away from people who drain you. Saying no when your soul screams yes. Trusting that even in loneliness, God is protecting you from what looked like love but was actually control. You've asked heaven why certain people walked away. You've begged to understand why that relationship turned so toxic. But now you are being shown the reason, because God heard what they said about you when you weren't there. Because God saw what they wrote about you in secret. Because God knew what they planned while you were still praying for their peace. My child, my beloved. It is not your fault. But now it is your responsibility to choose, to act, to awaken. If you walk away from this moment, heaven will not condemn you, but what comes next will be heavier. Not as punishment, but as consequence. And God is trying to save you from it right now. That's why Archangel Michael's voice is trembling with urgency. This is not just a message. It is your moment. My child, my beloved. There is something you need to know about the pain you've been carrying. It wasn't just pain, it was a message. Heaven wrapped truth inside your tears because it was the only way your heart would stop and pay attention. Every sleepless night, every moment when you felt abandoned, when you looked around and realized you were fighting alone, those were divine sirens. God was trying to show you that something around you was no longer safe. And now, Archangel Michael has been sent with one final mission, to make sure you open your eyes before this next move from the enemy becomes irreversible. You've had dreams you didn't understand. Sudden panic. A gut feeling that something wasn't right. That wasn't fear, my child, that was the whisper of heaven. And you've been ignoring it because you didn't think you mattered enough for God to send warnings. But oh, how wrong you are. You are loved more than you know. And that love is why this message was sent. My child, my beloved. Someone around you is walking with secrets. And the worst part is, they know that you still trust them. That's the opening they've been using. To speak against you. To pull what belongs to you. To plant seeds of doubt in others. And yet you, in your beautiful innocence, have been defending them. Loving them. Believing the best. Archangel Michael has watched in silence, but he cannot hold back anymore. Because what this person is planning next is not just petty, it's destructive. They are not working alone. There are two of them, and they've been waiting for the right moment to take something from you. Something that belongs to your future. And God says, if you don't awaken now, it will be gone before you even realize who took it. Heaven will not stay silent while your destiny is being negotiated behind your back. My child, my beloved. You were born with a light that others envy. That light was never about status or beauty or money. It was your spirit. Your resilience. Your unexplainable ability to rise even when everything collapses. And some people, yes, even family, have mistaken your strength for something they can manipulate. But God is not mocked. What was done in darkness is being exposed. And Archangel Michael is revealing that even though you've forgiven them in your heart, their actions have not stopped. In fact, they've intensified. Because they think you are too passive to notice. They think your silence is weakness. But what they forget is that you're protected. That you're chosen. That heaven has been watching every move, and now, judgment has begun. But this judgment comes with mercy, for you. If you open your eyes. My child, my beloved. My child, my beloved. You're not being punished. You're being positioned. It may feel like everything is falling apart, but spiritually, it's falling into place. This shaking is not here to break you, it's here to reveal who's really been holding you back. And while you've been trying to rebuild what God already removed, heaven's been preparing something new that matches your future, not your past. But it cannot be released while your hands are full of what was. You've been holding on to people, situations, patterns, not because you love them, but because they feel familiar. And Archangel Michael says, familiar is not the same as safe. What's been familiar to your heart is not always aligned with your calling. And if you stay in the place of almost obedient, you'll stay in the cycle of almost blessed. But today, yes, today, is your way out. This is the invitation to exit every cycle that has kept you repeating the same heartbreak, the same lesson, the same delay. My child, my beloved. You don't need more signs. This is it. This is the confirmation you asked for. The uneasiness in your chest. That's your spirit responding to the truth. The sudden chill as you read these words. That's heaven brushing against your skin. God is not just speaking, He's showing you. And He's saying, if you stay here, you will lose the blessing I've already written with your name on it. If you keep trusting what you're supposed to walk away from, you'll miss the very thing you've been praying for. The miracle isn't delayed anymore, it's waiting. But it cannot enter a space already filled with confusion. Peace and chaos do not live in the same house. And your spirit wasn't born for chaos. That's why you feel so tired. So uneasy. You're not weak, you're misaligned. And heaven is correcting it now. But correction only becomes breakthrough when you obey. My child, my beloved. You've been waiting for a rescue, but heaven is saying, the rescue is already here. It looks like a decision. Not a lightning bolt, not a dramatic event. A simple moment of obedience. A choice to believe what God has been showing you all along. You've been surviving in a spiritual fog, where clarity comes and then disappears, and you keep asking, God, why can't I see clearly? The answer is this, because you keep holding on to the very hands that are covering your eyes. The conversations you entertain, the energy you allow near you, the loyalties you keep defending, these are the fog machines. And no matter how many times God shines light on your path, it will stay blurred until you stop letting your spirit get dimmed by their influence. Archangel Michael has seen the exact moment they spoke against you. The exact word they released that sent confusion into your heart. And now heaven is not asking, they're commanding, do not go back. My child, my beloved. There are some battles you were never meant to fight, because they weren't yours. But when you stayed connected to people who refused to heal, their storms started to hit your boat. That's why you've been sinking even when you're doing everything right. That's why your progress has been slow, like walking through invisible mud. Because what they carry is clinging to your peace. You love deeply, and that love has made you try to carry others' weight. But God never asked you to carry their secrets. Their jealousy. Their bitterness. You thought you were being kind. But you've been burning yourself to keep others warm, and now, there's almost nothing left to give. Heaven is not shaming you for loving too much. But they are waking you up, you cannot heal people who enjoy your brokenness. My child, my beloved. There's something sacred being released right now. A shift. A realignment. And the enemy knows it. That's why the attacks feel heavier. That's why the betrayal cut deeper this time. Because you're not who you were even 30 days ago. You're standing in the middle of a spiritual upgrade. But it comes with a cost, the cost of obedience. The cost of letting go of who you used to be to become who God needs you to be. This is the tension of transformation. Archangel Michael says, the spiritual war around your name has reached its peak. What happens in the next few days will either anchor your breakthrough or delay it again. Not because God is punishing you, but because heaven moves at the speed of your yes. A full yes. Not one wrapped in fear or guilt. Your yes is the key to unlock the protection that's already hovering over your life. My child, my beloved. There are moments when God speaks softly, with a whisper that only your heart can hear, and then there are moments like this, where the voice of heaven roars through your soul because the danger is too close, and your delay has gone on too long. You have been protected for years, even when you didn't know it. Archangel Michael has intercepted countless attacks meant for your peace, your health, your finances, your mind. There were things that should have broken you, that almost did. But they didn't. Not because you were strong, but because heaven stepped in silently. But now the season has changed. You've grown. You've matured. You're no longer the same child you once were, and because of that, God is no longer fighting battles you were meant to recognize on your own. This time, the threat is right in front of you. And heaven is watching to see if you will finally act, or if you will ignore the alarm again and fall into the same trap, dressed in a different name. My child, my beloved. This is not about being dramatic. This is about being accurate. Someone close to you has been planting spiritual delays in your life. They may not use curses or rituals, but their energy is a poison. Their words are subtle darts. Their presence carries envy wrapped in compliments. And you know it. You've felt it. You've made excuses for it because you love them. Because you don't want to believe that someone who knows your struggles could be this reckless with your heart. But heaven says, love without discernment is dangerous. You can care deeply for someone and still recognize when they are not safe for your future. God is not calling you to hate them, He's calling you to see them. Because this is not just a moment of awareness, this is a moment of survival. And if you ignore this, you will not see the blessing that has already been prepared. It will pass by. Not because God doesn't love you, but because He will never place miracles in the hands of someone who refuses to protect them. My child, my beloved. This is your moment to break every pattern. Every cycle. Every agreement, spoken or unspoken, that you made with pain. You've tolerated too much for the sake of keeping peace with people who were never at peace within themselves. You've sacrificed your voice, your rest, your light. All to avoid conflict, to avoid being too much. But Archangel Michael has been assigned to restore your boundaries. To remind you that you are not here to be agreeable, you are here to be anointed. You are here to walk in the fullness of your calling without having to explain it to people who were never meant to understand. And you are here to stop negotiating your spiritual safety just to feel emotionally accepted. There are rooms your spirit no longer fits in, and that's not rejection, that's redirection. Heaven has been opening new doors, but you've been too afraid to let the old ones close. But today, you must choose. My child, my beloved. You asked God to expose every hidden thing working against you. And He did. Not through thunder, but through this message. Through the sick feeling you've been ignoring. Through the patterns you've been calling coincidence. Through the heaviness that keeps creeping back after you see certain faces or hear certain voices. That's not emotional weakness. That's spiritual intelligence. And if you don't listen to it now, your silence will become your sabotage. Heaven will not beg you again. This is the moment. The final invitation. The shield is ready, but it will only descend if you say yes. Not later. Not someday. Now. This moment will echo for the rest of your life. You will either look back at it as the second you shifted, or the moment you missed. My child, my beloved. The silence you've been walking through has not been empty, it's been sacred. You thought heaven forgot you. You thought God had withdrawn. But the truth is, He was preparing this exact moment in the background of your life, hidden in stillness. He needed you to reach the end of your own strength, because only then could you see what was really pulling you down. Not external chaos. Not fate. But the invisible ties you've maintained to people who were never supposed to walk with you this far. You keep calling it love. You keep labeling it loyalty. But Archangel Michael sees it for what it truly is, a delay. A hidden door that was never locked by heaven, just blocked by your refusal to walk away from what looks familiar but feels spiritually heavy. And the weight is now costing you more than time, it's costing you clarity, energy, even your joy. This warning was not meant to be soft. It was meant to shake you. Because what's ahead requires a version of you that no longer apologizes for protecting your peace. My child, my beloved. God is not cruel. He is not silent. He's been warning you gently for a long time. Through discomfort. Through closed doors. Through dreams that made no sense until now. He's been whispering through every sudden shift. Every unexpected goodbye. Every strange delay. But because the voices around you were so loud, you mistook these signs as bad luck, or worse, punishment. But this is not punishment. This is preservation. And now, because you've reached this moment, right here, right now, God has given Archangel Michael permission to speak without filters, without delay, without softening the truth. This is your wake-up call. You cannot go back. You cannot pretend you didn't hear this. You cannot act like you haven't been sensing this all along. The enemy wanted you to call this paranoia. But heaven says this is discernment. This is divine accuracy. And this is the moment where your yes creates the shift you've been begging for in prayer. My child, my beloved. You are not crazy for feeling what you feel. You are not broken because they left. You are not behind just because your life looks different from those around you. What you are, is chosen. And the cost of being chosen is high. You don't get to stay in places where dishonor feels normal. You don't get to keep quiet when your soul is screaming. You don't get to remain in connection with people who love you as long as you're small, silent, or struggling. You've been adjusting yourself to avoid their discomfort. But God is done letting you shrink. Archangel Michael says, the spiritual danger surrounding your life right now is not from outside attacks, it's from tolerated energy. From the access you keep giving to people who only show up to drain, question, or delay your progress. You've been thinking they're just not understanding you. But they understand you more than you realize. That's why they're trying so hard to keep you from growing. Because your growth makes their control expire. This is not drama. This is truth. This is not confusion. This is clarity wrapped in fire. My child, my beloved. You've been feeling the tension, haven't you? Like you're standing in two places at once, your heart in the future, but your mind chained to the past. That's because your spirit already knows where you're supposed to be. It has already glimpsed the door God is trying to open. But you keep looking back. You keep hoping those who wounded you will change. You keep trying to bring everyone with you. And Archangel Michael says, it's slowing you down. Some of the very people you're fighting for have no intention of walking with you. Some of the ones you've been praying for have already made peace with seeing you fail. And yet you keep pouring into them, thinking your love will change their heart. But what if God is saying, your love already did its part, but now it's time to let go? What if the only reason you're not walking in full peace is because you keep inviting chaos back in, dressed as compassion? This is the moment where you choose, alignment or attachment. My child, my beloved. Don't let your loyalty become your downfall. Don't let your soft heart be the reason you miss what God is trying to place in your hands. You are not being asked to cut people off from a place of anger, but from a place of wisdom. God is trying to give you peace that doesn't shatter when people leave. Joy that isn't dependent on someone else's behavior. Stability that doesn't collapse when a person withdraws their attention. And this version of peace will only come when you stop entertaining what heaven already told you to release. That's why you've been so exhausted, even when you're doing nothing. It's the spiritual weight of carrying connections that your soul has outgrown. Let them go, beloved. Let them go so God can move. My child, my beloved. You've been trying to hold everything together. Smiling when you're hurting. Showing up strong when inside you're collapsing. And heaven has seen it all. That's why this message was delayed until now, because God knew that the version of you reading this today is ready. Ready to face the truth. Ready to stop pretending. Ready to finally let go of what's been secretly draining your joy. You didn't deserve the way they treated you. You didn't imagine the coldness. The shift. The quiet sabotage. The rejection. That was all real. And even though you've been trying to convince yourself it's not a big deal, your soul knows otherwise. Your spirit has been warning you. That familiar ache? That sudden anxiety in their presence? That strange fatigue after a conversation? That's your discernment screaming through your body. Archangel Michael says you've been dismissing divine alerts by calling them moods. But they weren't moods, they were messages. My child, my beloved. You are in the middle of a divine investigation. God is uncovering every hidden agenda surrounding your name. Every lie that was spoken. Every jealous glance disguised as love. Every prayer that was secretly laced with ill intention. And you're not going to have to lift a finger, because heaven is going to handle it for you. But you must obey this warning. You must stop trying to resurrect what God already called dead. Stop checking on the very ones who cursed you in private. Stop explaining your calling to those who were never meant to understand it. Archangel Michael says this: if you choose alignment right now, God will open a gate of protection so powerful, no evil plan can break it. But if you keep going back to the places that broke you, your destiny will be delayed again. And this time, the delay will not be short. This is a crossroads moment. My child, my beloved. You don't need to be perfect to receive this blessing. You just need to be willing. Willing to walk away from what keeps wounding your spirit. Willing to believe that God is showing you these things now because the next chapter depends on it. And willing to stop pretending everything is okay when you know something is spiritually wrong. This is your wake-up call. The enemy has been counting on your silence. He's been hoping you stay confused. He's been using people you love as blind spots to trap your heart. But today, the veil is lifting. You've been praying for breakthrough. And this is the doorway. But to walk through it, you must leave behind the weight. The fear. The unhealthy loyalty. The illusion of control. The belief that you're still waiting for confirmation, when God has already made the truth uncomfortably clear. You know who it is. You know what it is. Now it's time to respond. My child, my beloved. You were never supposed to fight this alone. That's why this message is reaching you now, because heaven still believes in your purpose. Because Archangel Michael is still standing beside you, even when everyone else stepped away. You have been under spiritual pressure not because you did something wrong, but because your life has value beyond what you can see. The enemy doesn't waste energy on someone who isn't carrying something precious. That's why your attacks have been personal. That's why it's been people closest to you who've caused the deepest wounds. Because they had access. Because they knew where to strike. But now heaven is saying, enough. The next move is not yours alone, God is already surrounding you with angels. But He needs your yes. Not a hesitant yes. A bold one. A yes that refuses to protect what's been poisoning you. A yes that surrenders the version of life that's hurting your spirit. My child, my beloved. You're not being punished. You're being positioned. It may feel like everything is falling apart, but spiritually, it's falling into place. This shaking is not here to break you, it's here to reveal who's really been holding you back. And while you've been trying to rebuild what God already removed, heaven's been preparing something new that matches your future, not your past. But it cannot be released while your hands are full of what was. You've been holding on to people, situations, patterns, not because you love them, but because they feel familiar. And Archangel Michael says, familiar is not the same as safe. What's been familiar to your heart is not always aligned with your calling. And if you stay in the place of almost obedient, you'll stay in the cycle of almost blessed. But today, yes, today, is your way out. This is the invitation to exit every cycle that has kept you repeating the same heartbreak, the same lesson, the same delay. My child, my beloved.